and welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, August 1st, 2020. How's everybody doing?
Absolutely.
Good.
Doing well. Doing really well.
Fantastic. You?
Doing really well, even when Zoom switches it up on you right before a stream. It's fantastic.
It's all good.
We are officially open for business.
Oh.
And I just want to point out that nobody had to remind me to put that sign on. It's the first time ever.
That's excellent.
It's never happened before.
You still haven't set up a Raspberry Pi to automatically do that.
I blame Nate for that. Nate was going to help me, and he never did.
That is, it's true. Actually, I think we could do it, but with a smaller device.
All right. So we are still perfecting our new format, where we are just talking for the first hour. And maybe at some point we'll get back to the distros if something's like really intriguing or we have a big release or something like that. But we're working on our just our basic open discussion. So I have something that I want to talk about. I want to bring up a discourse thread about PC parts, but that I don't know how long that's going to go because we're going to get into that a little bit. So does anybody have anything they want to bring up, that they're doing that's going on right now? Shiko, go ahead.
I got my Ubuntu mug in the mail, and I'm super excited.
Wait, Ubuntu has merch?
Yeah, they do.
We do.
You did not know that they have merch?
Well, Dan, you've been holding out on me, so I didn't know Ubuntu had merch.
I'm sorry about that. I'll see what I can do to get you educated there. Yeah, no, we've got shirts and sweatshirts and mugs and all sorts of good stuff. Hats. Yeah, you name it.
So we need a link, Dan. There's only one way that we're going to actually be able to get merch, and that's a link.
I will dig it up and I'll share it with everybody. How's that sound?
Do you have it, Chick?
It's our donate page.
You don't have the mug with you?
Oh, the mug. Yeah, let me go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It features Lenny. Lenny is cool. Anyway, yeah, I'll get the link.
All right. Anybody else? Joshua, you said before the show that you got a new keyboard.
It's not really that interesting because I'm considering that a bunch of people may have used it before. I have a Corsair K55 keyboard, and I'm just gonna mute myself as I move my camera around in first position so you can see what it is.
And Thomas, you said that you have the same keyboard?
Yes, indeed, I do.
And what do you think of it?
Overall, I do like it. It's not mechanical, so if you are a keyboard aficionado, probably not for you. But I like it has macro keys. It has your standard ANSI layout, standard stuff. I will say Corsair keyboards that have RGB, like the K55, they don't play nicely with Linux, the RGB. But thankfully, there is a project to fix that called CKB. There's another version called CKB Next. You just install that from the PPA or whatever you want to install it from, and it gets you up and running pretty quickly. The K55 specifically, it won't save your RGB profile to the keyboard. So every time you reboot, you get RGB barf like Joshua has right now, and not just a plain, simple, solid color like a normal person would have. But, once you log in, it works perfectly fine. If you lock your computer, it won't change. I think it won't change colors until you log out and log into a different account that has a different setting, or you manually tell it to do something else, or you reboot. But overall, it's pretty nice. I like it. I'm not picky.
All right, Joshua, what do you think of it? I'm sorry, Nate.
Okay, so actually there's a lot of cool stuff. So the first thing is I think this is one of the cheapest actual good RGB mechanical keyboards out there. I already had a Harpoon RGB, and oh boy, did I love it.
It's not mechanical.
Shh.
It's not mechanical. It's rubber domes.
So, anyways, so yeah, I had a Harpoon RGB, and the reason behind why it's not, quote, Linux friendly is because they originally made IQ for Windows and Mac, also known as the only distros apparently people like to game on. So that's why CKB Next is the thing, because you can't really get it working on one. But otherwise, it works pretty well. There is some flaws and some small issues, but I mean, it's being worked out, and it's all open source, so you can go donate or do whatever you need. Otherwise, I've been able to get sync fine. So they also have a few more set of buttons. So you can automatically set the macros, but I manually did it with CKB Next just because it made life a lot easier. You can change the backlight brightness. You can also lock the Win key, or super key, as we should really call it. Has numlock, and then it has 7 extra non-keyboard buttons. So it's just shortcuts. So there's a stop button, reverse, go forward, pause, play. Then there's a mute, an unmute, and a volume up and volume down. And otherwise, you also were saying RGB barf. Thomas, this is not RGB barf. It's actually what I personally chose because it was like the only setting that fit with my mouse and I liked it. And to explain about the barf, so of course CKB Next is auto start, and actually the keyboard is pretty cool because oh god, I don't want to carry it over. So if you go over, I'm not gonna carry over my camera again, but if you go search up a review of it, you'll see that if you press the function and the top row of keys along with F1, F2, F3, and F4, then you'll automatically be able to change your colors and stuff, and you can play around with it. And I have the default RGB lighting set automatically for it. So when CKB is off, but it has power, then that's what it will use by default. And it is a little sluggish when it's slow, but it's still very nice to have. And the last comment about this, all right, this is my last comment about this, and I don't even have to say any words because you have to listen to this. Doesn't that sound nice?
No, I prefer a mechanical keyboard. I actually had the the K65, which is a mechanical keyboard and does have the clicky switches, but my goodness, is that a fast actuation for the K65. I found myself typing letters twice just because it is so, like, you even bump another key next to it and you're typing other letters that you don't want. It's a great keyboard. It really is. It's just really fast and not for me. The Logitech G910 is what I prefer. So, yeah.
All this talk about keyboards, I just bought a new keyboard and mouse literally as you were talking.
What?
So
Another stream purchase?
It only counts if you do it live. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you buy?
So I went ahead and...
It was the Corsair, right?
No, I bought the Razer Black Widow, the Chroma V2, and then I bought the Logitech G502 for the mouse. So
best mouse ever made.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to spin the wheel.
Oh yes, yes. Just don't use an air compressor to spin the wheel. That's all.
Chico, I thought we were going to have Corsair be our sponsor. I joined the Discord server, and I just went up linked the beginning of this until you had to ruin it.
Hey, if they're gonna give me free stuff, I'll be sponsored by anyone.
All right, Nate, you wanted to bring up something.
Well, I got a keyboard too. It's my favorite keyboard. You see, it's a little bit older. I've had it for a few years.
Is that a Model M?
Yeah, no, that's the real deal.
Is that a real Model M?
Professional new keyboard?
I have one in the basement.
This is from my 5150.
Okay, my only question is, how do you live without the super key?
I don't use it often.
You use the super key that often?
Mouse, or you just assign something else to it?
I just use
no mouse.
I mean, I do everything, almost everything with the keyboard. I just don't use the super key. Would you shush and go away? Thank you.
I have a lot of stuff mapped to use super key or super key in conjunction with something else, so I wouldn't be able to live without it.
I mean, I have laptops anymore, so I don't use it, but I have one sitting downstairs that I know it would work if I had to get the adapter from the PS2 outlet.
Yep.
to USB.
There's an old school keyboard, Colin.
Yeah.
Again, as I said, if you actually bought a Corsair, you would get a nice keyboard macro, and you wouldn't have to worry about a Serpent in the first place.
No,
It's like,
Tyler has a pretty keyboard. That's pretty.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of all you people with Model M's. Would love to have one with a super key though.
After the show, I'm gonna.
Barbara,
Buy a new keyboard, then.
you had mentioned that you wanted to talk about something that you got.
Yes. About 2.5, almost 3 weeks now, I got a Pinebook Pro. Came in the mail, and it is really gorgeous looking, and the screen is great. I booted it up. It was fine the first time. I booted it and I played around it, did updates. I booted it up again, and it's running Manjaro. I realized that, yes. But that was the last time it booted up. I can't say that because I wanted to see. I had installed onto a micro USB, a micro SD card, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, and it booted it up once from the SD card. Well, that's what I want to put on it, just for my one being weird. And then it wouldn't even power up again, ever.
So what you're saying is OpenSUSE broke it?
Yeah,
No, it did because I don't think OpenSUSE broke it. I think that there's a problem with the motherboard.
Yeah.
And they've been having me go through for the last 17 days. I have been going through all these permutations and jumping through hoops and opening up the back and just, disconnecting the battery. And there's this little jumper cable pair. Instead of like the old fashioned jumpers that you used to move around on the motherboard, you like just connect the two halves on this one. I don't know how many times I've done that for them to tell me to do this, this, and this. And the amber light doesn't even come on. There is no power. Then the last message, which was 2 days ago, and I haven't heard from them since, is, well, why don't you reflash the eMMC card chip? And it's like, so how do I reflash? Go back. How do I reflash it if I don't have any power?
Well, I was just trying to give you a hard time, Barb.
No. So this is going on day after day. And so my last comment back was, okay, so how do I reflash that if I don't have any power going to the computer? It's not seeing anything. No lights, no nothing. No, I have no idea if the thing's I did charge up to 100%, came with 91%. And so that has been my experience. I really like it and I want it. So I wrote back to them this morning. Maybe it's time to consider replacing this one with a different one. So please tell me the procedure to replace this dead one with one that is alive.
Barb.
Yeah.
Before it started giving you problems, did you open it up at all or do any
Nope.
kind of servicing on it?
Nope.
Because I still have it, a Dell Latitude D630.
Mhm.
Great machine, rock solid, still runs, survived 2 deployments overseas in the desert with me. Anyway, I had a problem where I would touch it and then the whole thing would just shut down on me. Turn back on. I touch it one area, it shut down. Well, it ended up being like there was some when I put it back together, there was something I didn't do, like I had a screw in the wrong spot or whatever. And it was causing it to short out, like the chassis to short out.
Mhm.
So I know it could be an issue, or unless is your power supply working? Have you metered your power supply?
No, that I didn't do yet.
Yeah, I would
But-
meter your power supply too.
Yeah, I
could
can do that.
If a laptop doesn't like your power, it'll just save itself and just not allow it to run.
I've never had a
doesn't like what
problem
it's seeing.
with anything, any other laptop with the power in my house, and it's on, and I think I did it in here and I did it in the other room. Both of those rooms they're on their own circuit breakers. When I had the house rewired, I specifically did that because the one room, my office, has computers and stuff, and I wanted to make sure that the refrigerator didn't do any problem. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be on anything else other than that was just for the computers. And the same thing in this room. So that like the window air conditioner is on a different circuit than the computers. So yeah, I actually have two in the room.
Is this a tablet or a laptop? Tablet or laptop?
It's a laptop.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful 14. I
Makes
mean,
it-
it's really a beautiful little machine, and the screen is great. And I want it to work. I want to be able to use it. So I would just like them, send me another one, and I'll send this one back, or whatever you do with them. I just want one that works, and
Makes sense.
Yep.
yeah. But it wouldn't even. It's like I hadn't opened anything up. I hadn't done anything when it stopped working. So that tells me there's something wrong, either in the power supply or on the motherboard, or there's something like that. So that was just my thinking.
Yeah,
So-
there's something wrong with it that you should not have to mess with to make it work.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I've done everything that they told me to do, and then some. I followed, made sure that there's a little switch, that the switch was in the correct position. It came in the correct position,
Right.
And stuff like that. So I don't know what it is, and I really want it to work because I really want to use it, because it's a nicely made little machine, except it doesn't power on. So it just turns out to be a 2.5 pound, very big paperweight.
Yep.
At the moment, it's actually sitting back in the box. I'm waiting for them to tell me what to do.
It'll get better, Barb. It'll get better.
It will. It will.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to get the Pine Tab before this one gets replaced. One of those things. I just finally said, they're telling me to reflash the eMMC chip, and it's like, how can I do that if I don't have any power going to the machine?
Yep.
I honestly don't know how to do it. So unless somebody can tell me how without having to go out and buy some crazy external USB with a little socket for the chip. I have a feeling, and I can't find that around here.
Nate,
You
you got some new hardware too, right?
I did. A couple of new things. Where did I put it? Well, I'm very excited. I'm still just playing. I'm still in the early days of playing with it, but I got the Pine phone with the Ubi ports. It is a great little phone. It's solid. It has a so it's USB-C to charge it, and does charge quickly, so it's not weird. Like there's some open sourcey Linuxy things I've had, not Linuxy, but phones or whatever, mobile devices, not phones. That just be really funny about the power port. This one's not. Here's one of my favorite feature, and hopefully I don't drop it and break it here on camera, because that'd be terrible. But this is my favorite feature of the phone. I can take the back of it off. I don't know why other phones don't do this. This is like prime feature here. So my there's now my standing opinion that any phone you can't do this to is garbage.
I agree.
The battery's easily accessible here. It has the modem module here. SD card and your SIM can go right here. So I've made phone calls, and I've been able to do SMS messaging. I messaged a friend and I said, "Hey, how do my text messages look? Like new and shiny?" Like, no. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it does it just the same as every other messaging.
It's better than the Libra phone.
Yeah, Librem 5. You can't
Yeah,
do
the
that
Libra
there.
5, which doesn't let you call anybody.
Nope.
Yeah. So there are some the real tiny little dip switches right here, and it tells you what they are. So you can actually disable things like the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the modem, and so forth. So that I think is very cool. It's very well constructed. So I've been playing with the Ubi ports. I've installed some applications. I've been telegramming from it. I haven't really done a whole lot with it. It's been a very busy week. And but as far as the interface goes, this is my favorite mobile interface. I think that they nailed it. Like of any mobile device I've ever used. Although I don't remember the HP WebOS, that was really good too. But I think I like this better. In order to access the different aspects of it, instead of having the buttons along the bottom, I'm trying to log into it, but I can't talk and put my password at the same time. I might as well say my password. So that would be good. But you swipe to get your applications. Anywhere you are, you can swipe to get your applications to show up. You can swipe to get your notifications, and it's a swipe to open up all the whatever applications you have open. And it works really well. It does feel a little bit sluggish at times. And I don't know if that's because they're still working. I'm sure they're still working on it, obviously.
Which store do you get your apps for it from?
Best Buy. No, what?
No, the apps. It has a store. Yeah, no. On the phone.
It's a UbiPorts web store. It's the Ubuntu. It's like the Ubuntu store.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't know if you got them from F-Droid or what,
Nope,
because
nope.
nobody talks about that part of it.
Hey,
No,
Nate,
UBports has their own store.
I need to ask you, does it have a headphone jack? Because at this point, a headphone jack is actually a selling
Yes.
point for me.
Yes.
Yes, it has a headphone jack, and it does work. Now, the problems I have had with it so far, I can't actually get it to take any pictures, so the camera does not work.
Right.
It's just black. That's one thing it doesn't work. I can't get it to actually stay connected to a Bluetooth device, but it'll turn on and then shut back off. But it's been I've been getting updates, so I'm sure it's they're working on it. I'm not impatient. I knew going into it I was going to have some challenges, but it's a lot of fun to play with. I must say, the web browser is actually nice. So I like it better than the Chrome
using that
browser
pretty much
on
as your
the mobile device.
I have a question to ask.
Yeah.
Fire away. Oh, Barb, I can't hear you, Barb.
You're muted, Barbara.
I did unmute myself. Dumb.
Zoom.
Anyway, which one did you get? The one that's like the $199.99, or the one that was $149.99?
I ordered $149. I ordered this back in April, and
okay.
just got it this week, Monday.
Yeah. Well, I think they're starting to send them out again, aren't they? From what I was reading.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm waiting for a usable Pine Watch.
So, Nate, I have a question too.
Yes.
The Pine Time.
Fire away.
Whatever.
So, have you been pretty much using that as your primary device during the week?
No, I just am taking it with me. I don't really do a lot with my phone, and the things that I need to get figured out yet is like the AND box. I look for that.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't spend much time on it. It's been a busy week, but I need to see. There's like a couple of Android applications that I need, but just my banking app.
Yeah.
And then I still need to try out that does have a navigation application, so I haven't tried that out yet. It runs, but I haven't tried it out yet.
Okay.
And maybe Pokemon Go. If I can do that, that'd be great.
Oh, there you go.
Kidding.
Yeah, that's complete right there.
Well,
oh boy,
Nice. That's cool.
Well, the
just
Pine
don't
phone.
take it out in the street.
The Pine phone is not all the new hardware you got, Nate.
No, I did get another piece of hardware. This has been a good week for hardware. Actually, it's been quite a few pieces of hardware. I have now an ultra wide, 1080p ultra wide in front of me. So instead of having this janky setup, like kind of fabric cobbled, scraping together Doc Brown style, whatever I can get to make it work, I now have a nice ultra wide right here, and it's made actually a lot of things just way better as far as interacting with my computer.
Welcome to the
things
club.
like editing, or why didn't someone tell me about this ultra wide thing sooner? I mean, they're not new.
I have been
somehow I just
blabbering
totally missed
on
it.
about this ultra wide thing for weeks now.
Me for the last year.
Well, it's okay. I first found out about it back this past November or so, and it took me a long time to figure out which one I wanted because I'm not impulsive at all. So I like to be spontaneous. I have to plan for it. It's terrible.
That's not spontaneous, Nate. Planning is not spontaneous.
I got to plan. Well, I have to schedule in a time for spontaneity. Okay, I'm allowed to be spontaneous between 5:30 and 6 o'clock at night. That's my spontaneous time. So whatever I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doing it live on a Biddle stream. Now that's spontaneous.
Yeah. That's Shickle's known for that.
It is.
That's impulsive.
This is true.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, so that's it's been really nice to have this. I really want to have another monitor above it. I think I've decided it'd be nice to have a third just stacked on top of it. Just I can have persistent information up there.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet. I need some way of adapting my monitor stand for that. But yeah, no, it's been nice. I just got it going. Now, what was interesting though is when I plugged it in, it was only recognized as a standard 16:9, I think 16:9 1080p screen. So it stretched everything. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is the first time I've had to fiddle around with Linux to get some piece of hardware to work. I thought it was kind of strange. And so I did some digging. Actually, didn't take long. I found the solution on the OpenSUSE forum. So maybe it's only a problem with OpenSUSE. I don't know. But they referenced an Ubuntu forum. So maybe it's a problem everywhere. I don't know. Or maybe it's with this monitor. But I had to set a special first I had to go like old school xrand-r type commands to say,
Oh,
hey, here's the
my.
mode. Yeah. And to make sure it actually worked is what I wanted to do. I wanted to see if I thought maybe my computer's too old. It doesn't like it. I don't really know what the problem is. And it's going in the HDMI slot. So then when I figured out that everything's good, so I created a rule in the xorg.d folder that basically says the preferred mode is 2560 by 1080. So I just had to set in 60 hertz. That's what I had to do. This way it knows that whenever it sees this particular monitor on that particular port, it will activate that mode. So not a big deal. I haven't actually played with Xorg in probably 5 or 6 years, so that was kind of a fun little trip. Maybe longer.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I made a little posting on how to do that. In case
I can't believe that you actually had to use xrandr though. And I mean,
well,
it seems odd
to dork around with it. That was just to kind of say, can I set the mode? I just wanted to see if I could first before I started dorking around with the xorg conf stuff. But yeah, because you can do fun things with xrand-r. I mean,
yeah, well you can, but you shouldn't
your
have
video
to use that
settings.
to get your monitor right though.
Well, so Plasma wouldn't see that was an available mode.
Right.
So
Okay.
this monitor has 2 inputs. So I want to try some other distributions on other machines. I can just plug it in and then I can flop it over. I want to see if other distribution. I don't know when I'm gonna do that. I got my week's all booked up. Maybe if I can get like a
Yeah.
spontaneous time, I might jump and do it.
There's no
A
time
tip
for that,
you,
Nate.
I don't know if your monitor does any like picture-in-picture or like picture beside picture type stuff, but if you ever fiddle with any of that and like whatever desktop you're using, whether it's Plasma or GNOME, if they start freaking out while you're doing it and like not recognizing certain options, I usually find that turning the monitor off after setting it and then back on will fix it, because it has to like display like EDID settings, and sometimes it doesn't properly communicate that back. So
are both of your inputs HDMI?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an LG monitor, and I normally have a rule I don't buy anything that's LG, but for $179.10, it was a deal. Yeah.
I have bought LG monitors for quite a few years and never had an issue with them. I mean, they're not like even the 4K monitors that I had were LG. So,
well, my rule is if it didn't say Dell on it, I haven't been buying it. So all my other monitors are Dell.
I'm a Dell monitor fan here. I love my Dell ultrawide here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, when it comes to monitors, Dells are all I get too.
Well, the price difference was like $500 or $600 for the same screen, or I could buy this open box LG for $179. And I thought, well, let me think about this. What can I do with the other, $400 a lot?
Yeah, I mean, some of the differences are like I know the Dell I have has got the 1440 vertical resolution, and this thing basically has a built-in KVM switch. So I switch over to the other computer. Yeah. All my keyboard, my mouse, even my USB audio interface, even the receiver, the audio it's receiving from the pass-through from the monitor switches over to the other computer.
Yep, that's nice.
It is really fancy.
That's a whole new game right there. That's a whole new game right there. You're talking. That's super fancy.
That's why I love this thing.
Cool. Well, that's fun, Nate.
Oh, it is. I have a couple other pieces of hardware too that I got this week.
What else did you get?
Well, bring it on. Yeah. What
is this Christmas week or what?
No.
Did you clean out your toy
all
box?
These things I've been watching and monitoring for a while, and just haven't committed. But I was on vacation last week, and eBay, and this is just what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I built a workstation last November. It's an AMD with an FX 9590. It was like what scrap pieces of hardware can I scrape together to build for large amounts of storage? Well, I was starting to lock up on me, and I didn't want to tell anybody this because OpenSUSE. I didn't want someone to try and start digging on me for maybe it's OpenSUSE. And
I would never do anything like that, Nate.
You might, yeah. And so I was talking to Adam because Adam Grubbs is kind of in my trust tree, and so I was saying, hey, I'm having
to talk about your trust tree.
Dan, I'm not in his trust tree.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
And I said, I'm having this problem. He says, well, it just kept like lock up when I really started stressing the machine. And he said, well, have you updated the BIOS? Because it could be like a new kernel is causing some issues. You need to update the BIOS. So I updated the BIOS, and then when I went to reboot it, it said, essentially it said, the CPU will not accept a CPU over 200 watts. It said system is shutting down in 5 seconds, and it would just shut off. And I go, oh, so maybe my CPU is causing these problems. So I got a lower grade CPU. I popped that in. Nothing exciting. So now I don't have nearly the horsepower I did, which kind of makes me want to, maybe build something new. But so that's one piece of hardware, and then I have another sitting in this box for this computer here, because I'm starting to hit the limits. When I got the ultra wide screen, I discovered basically doing CAD on this machine, which was never designed to do CAD, was causing the machine's having a hard time. So I'm going to put a faster CPU in it, roughly double the processing power, but I don't think I'll get that much out of it. I think I'm going to reach the thermal limits of the chassis as far as the blade can actually. It'll probably thermally it'll wall out on me, but yeah. So I was gonna do that before Biddle, but I thought maybe that's a bad idea to tear apart my main system right before Biddle. So I will do that tomorrow.
That seems like a DOS-geek thing to do. Is sort of distro hop right before live stream or something like that.
Extreme hardware hop.
Yeah.
CPU hop right before live stream. Yeah, that sounds like a great
That sounds
idea.
cool. Yeah.
But but it's a Dell, so it's really easy to work on. It's like literally 3 screws. Take it off, and remove the heat pipes. Take that off. Smear on some of the well, first to clean it, and then smear on your your thermal paste. Screw it all back together, and you should be good to go. I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but
Well, on the previous episodes where we went through the apps, we talked about email clients, and I had railed on Thunderbird for, I didn't rail on it, but I was kind of, hard on it because it needs an upgrade as far as the design upgrade. Dan, please tell me they have that coming right now. Like they released the new Thunderbird has the new design and it's all good.
Well, yeah, kinda. You still can't have it all. No,
come on, dude. Is it backwards compatible?
Well, no. So they did come out with a new Thunderbird, and we've already made it to the second, dot release, or the first dot release, and promise for some of the features are not going to come until the second dot release, which hasn't come out yet. So one of the things is they don't advise people that are using Enigmail, which is, GPG signed messages, don't upgrade because this will break that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was one of the big selling features, was all of that stuff was going to be built into the new client, and you wouldn't have to have this add-on extension thing. So that's kind of disappointing. The other thing is, I don't know, did they get dark mode in there? Because I heard that wasn't quite right too, and so that was going to kind of wait because we're Linux users and whatnot.
We like to wait.
So it's just kind of disappointing, but kind of exciting too. I mean, they did get the new interface and it looks pretty spiffy. I've been a long time Thunderbird user, and yeah, it's looked the same forever.
I haven't tried it. If they can modernize the look, I'll try it again, but not until they do.
They did give it an update, and when they get the dark mode going, I think that'll help a lot too.
Yep.
But just kind of stringing us along here a little bit.
All right. Any of you guys got anything you want to bring up before we head into this PC builder? Go ahead, Barb.
Oh, okay. Yesterday.
Whoa, Barbara, you just got muted again.
That wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It was me.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I was looking at OMG and Ubuntu, which I kind of look at once a week. And the guy who did, remember there was the Windows 95 running as an Electron app? Remember that one?
Yep.
Well, he's now done, which version of the not even the power, it was right before the Power PC version of Mac OS. So he's done that as an Electron app, and there is one version for Linux. I did download it. I haven't tried it yet, but I just thought it was just kind of a fun thing.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So he has it for Windows, Mac, and Linux, which I thought that's pretty cool. But I did download it on my Mac and I haven't tried it yet.
Well, you'll have to let us know how it is when you try it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it this week. So I just did it last night, so I haven't installed it or anything yet.
Okay. Shickle?
So
you muted yourself.
Hi there. I done did it. Cool little Firefox things coming down the pipe. So I was also looking through OMG Ubuntu, and I saw an article that said improve Firefox performance on Linux by turning this on. And it's basically a thing called web render, which allows it to use the GPU to render a lot more elements of the page, which means it takes a load off your CPU and accelerates the whole kind of like how Windows can do it and not like destroy your performance.
Yep.
So we're getting really cool stuff like that. So,
Shickle, why would they not turn that on by default?
That's a good question. I think it's relatively new, so it's kind of like something they want people to enable and try.
I actually saw this same article, and I think it mentioned that like they had it enabled in Windows since like 2018.
Yeah, in Windows, it's always there.
Yeah.
Where is it? In the
so you have to go into the
preferences?
about.config.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's if you search for web render and turn that on, it
Okay.
basically allows it to use the GPU to render a lot of the page elements. I'll link that here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I did enable it on one of my machines, and yeah, seemed to work really well.
I've noticed
Now
a
you're see. I
significant
don't want
boost.
to. I don't want to try Firefox again. I really don't.
You know what?
What are you
Rocco?
using?
There are so many things. Look, the browser's so detailed. Like, I mean, your bookmarks are there. Like everything is there. Not even bookmarks, because I can't even say bookmarks because I rarely use a bookmark. But there's so many things involved with a browser, from your history, your logins, and all of that stuff that I keep, that it's really hard to go and just, well, I'm going to go use another browser for another week, or a whole week. And yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, it's not something you can hop to, but like if you really make the switch, you can get all the same kind of those same things that carry over. Like, I know with Chrome you get your history on all of them. You can do the same thing in Firefox with sync, if that's
right.
that's,
But what I'm saying is, it's not. I'm not talking about that you can't get sync in Firefox. What I'm talking about is everything's synced in this one, and
Right.
now I switch to this one, don't have
Right.
nothing.
Yeah, you're starting.
And I'm
over.
only doing it for a week or two or whatever.
that's right.
And
Doesn't Firefox have like an easy import button or something? Like usually if I install Firefox on like at school, installing it on a Windows box that didn't have it, then it'll say, hey, do you want to import your tabs and your history and everything from Chrome?
Does it for some stuff, but there are certain things that still don't get pulled in.
And the other thing too is the extensions, where now I have to go search out. Like, I have specific extensions that are only available in Chromium-based browsers, where now I got to go find extensions that do the same things that I do on the Mozilla browser. And yeah, that's another whole rabbit hole. So, Tyler, go ahead.
So I just figured I'd share something silly because everyone was going on about their hardware acquisitions. I recently picked up about a 13-year-old laptop with an AMD Turion X2 in it, Dell Latitude D531, and it's got AMD laptop processors back then. They weren't really much to speak home about, but the code name of the CPU, the TL60 for the 65 nanometer chips, was Tyler. So I had to pick up a laptop with that CPU in it.
Nice.
Absolutely. That's cool.
I probably would do the same thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Steve's very own. How are you, sir?
Good evening.
What's going on?
Going good. Oh, not a whole lot. Just enjoying a beautiful Saturday night on Biddle.
You know it.
You got it.
All right, so I want to jump into a discourse forum post that Musical Coder had put in, and we haven't seen him for a couple weeks, so I'm not sure exactly. I don't think he has his priorities straight, Dan.
No, not like Schickel.
Not like Schickel, who took time off to be here. But anyway, he put a post in the discourse, and it says opinions on a PC build. He says, so I'm looking to build a new PC and was looking for opinions. Let me know what, if anything, I should change or any things anyone may have heard where I should do something different. And then he gives the link to his PCPartPicker.com the selection list. So I'd like to kind of go over these, and I'm going to actually put a link in the YouTube chat so that you guys can follow along here. And we're going to go over the parts list, and we're going to see if, did he do a good job on his parts list? It looks like he did a good job to me, but, so here we go. CPU. So for his CPU, he went with an AMD Ryzen 9 3950X. And I know that a lot of this will be based on, it's very difficult to sit here and just pin down a system setup because, there's a lot more information that's needed. People need to know, what you're going to do with it, what programs do you need to run, this kind of, are you going to be gaming with it? All of that information is relevant when you're trying to pick parts for a PC, but we're just going with a generalized scenario here. So that's where we're going to start it with. So AMD Ryzen 9 3950X 16-core processor. What do you guys think?
It's a little bit overkill for just general stuff, but if you're wanting as much performance as possible and you don't want to have to upgrade your CPU for the next 10 years, you're probably going to be good. Just be prepared to shell out a good hunk of dough for that.
Well, Thomas, the hunk of dough is $689.99.
Yeah, that's too rich for me.
That's a pretty good hunk of cash. You could build an entire computer off of that $600 odd.
Yes, but you're getting a Ryzen 9 here, dude. So
I know,
that's
and
pretty cool.
I'm not saying it's a bad CPU. I'm just saying
it's a
be
great
prepared to
CPU.
shell out for it.
Yep.
I want that CPU.
Yes, I think everybody would want that CPU. Any other thoughts on the CPU?
I think it's cool.
I think it's a great choice for a CPU if you have that. If you have the money to put it out, it's all obvious based on budget. Go ahead, Nate.
Does it require the 570X motherboard?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
I've just been looking at all this motherboard stuff because I think I might have somehow the bug. I got bit by that bug, the hardware bug.
Yeah.
I don't know who's responsible, but I'm blaming every one of you in this room right now for it. Because before
you can't blame me. I used my laptop. Sorry, don't blame me.
I like the new Nate.
Barbara.
Yeah.
So I do know that you need to have at least a 5 series motherboard in order to use it. Any 4 series motherboard, you will probably have to update the BIOS for.
Although you can check, some vendors will reflash it so it'll be compatible and sell the same board. But that's tricky.
But not all will do that. And if they don't, then you need an older CPU that the motherboard does support in order to flash it.
Same thing happened with
Which AMD,
I have another box that needs some hardware.
Well, there you go. Fill it up.
Yeah. It's just you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you need to buy a Ryzen 2 to flash your motherboard so you can put in your Ryzen 3.
But AMD, at least recently, was doing a thing where if you had a motherboard like that and all you had was the latest processor, they would send you an older processor as a loaner to flash your BIOS to the latest version, and then you could ship that processor back to them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think if you didn't ship it back to them, they charged you for it.
Well, I would hope.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they would help you out with that. So that's a pretty cool gesture of AMD to do.
Yeah, totally.
Adam Grubbs is in the house. Just the man we need for this conversation.
There he is.
What's going on? What's happening?
So what do you think of his CPU pick?
I got a 3900X, so 3950's got to be that much better, right?
It's got 50 more, so that's cool.
There you go.
Right? 50 more
Can't say
or
wrong to
something.
50 more X's.
All right. CPU cooler is the Noctua NHD15. And I don't know. I have never owned a Noctua cooler, but everybody that knows anything about cooling will recommend the Noctua. So
they're a beast. I got an Noctua cooler, and it's quite huge. I don't know if it's the same model number, but it goes on the 2700X CPU, and it's awesome. If you want a quiet machine, you get the big cooler.
They look absolutely disgusting, but boy, they work better than like anything else out there.
They actually have black versions now of some of them.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, they've had them for about a year, and they had an LTT version where the fans had like orange bumpers on them, so it looked really, really cool.
Well, this one has like the brown fan with the tan outside of it, so it's not the prettiest cooler, but it is a great cooler. So,
and it's really quiet. Those are really quiet.
Yep.
Yeah, that brown already looks dusty, Rocco.
I know,
Looks
right?
like it's dusty already.
All right, so the motherboard is a Gigabyte X570 Aorus. I guess that's how you say it. Aorus Pro. What do you guys think?
I don't particularly care for Gigabyte products.
I don't either. I've had issues with them.
So
Who do you like?
I use Asus.
That's what I use.
Asus.
I think I was actually looking at
now.
I think I was actually looking at getting a bundle with the AMD 3950X and that motherboard. And I was looking at that motherboard specifically because you can actually flash a new BIOS to it without a CPU installed, which is nice. And it has BIOS flashback, so it has two different versions in case something goes wrong. So I think that's a good choice. So if he does have a BIOS issue, that's not going to be an issue.
Well,
so you can just.
There may be a reason why he picked Gigabyte. I don't know if he wanted a particular feature of this motherboard or not, but like Adam, you had mentioned you use Asus. I'm sure he would appreciate a model number of something. Like if he was going, like he's looking for suggestions. So
the one I ended up purchasing last weekend was an Asus Prime X570 Pro. It's not like the highest end, like gaming oriented, super overclocking board, but it was pretty respectable price. I think it was about $250 US at Micro Center, so wasn't too bad. I got $20 off because I bundled it with a CPU, but that's different. But yeah, like $250 is like the normal price. Asus boards tend to be a little more expensive than others, but I find that they're just more high quality. I've never had any issues with Asus boards. I've had a lot of problems with like voltage regulators on Gigabyte boards. I had an ASRock board that I immediately returned after it wouldn't post. Like, I've never had any problems with Asus products.
Yeah,
Same here.
So I tend to be the kind of person, like I tend to research board manufacturers each time I do a build, because I've noticed some board manufacturers, including Asus, they might knock it out of the park when it comes to one chipset for boards, but they might completely flop with boards of another chipset. So I always tend to do my research with the specific chipset that I'm looking for.
And there are other like less technical things that certain board people will do. So one of the things a lot of the Asus boards comes with is a little like, it's like a thing where you put your front panel headers onto the motherboard, right? They're little pins. They're kind of a pain to get in there because you can't put them on outside of the case reliably because you have to put the motherboard in the case. So you generally have to kind of tweezer or just kind of put it in there yourself. But Asus actually has a little brick that has the pins on it, and you can put the front panel headers on the pins, and then you just plug that brick into where the pins go. So
Yeah, that's what I got with mine.
It's little things like that that really make a big difference in my book.
I found that piece after I'd put all the wires and stuff on the plug. Another good thing about the Asus board, if you screw up your BIOS by trying to overclock it or anything like that, mine has a reset switch in the back of it that resets the BIOS back to default.
Yep.
Yeah,
go ahead, Dan.
I've got the 470 because I've got a 2700X. And I've had really good luck with that. It's been a great motherboard. Really enjoy it.
Well, I used Asus for years as far as motherboards. There was one stretch where I bought an EVGA motherboard. I don't even know if they make motherboards anymore, but it was an EVGA motherboard. But other than that, I've had Asus through the whole thing, so they're definitely one of my favorites. All right, going to the memory, we have G.Skill Ripjaws V64 gigabytes of memory, 2x32. This is fantastic.
Wow.
I have things to say.
What speed?
Speed,
3600.
latency.
Yeah,
Latency.
3600.
So I have two things to say. First off, do you really need 64 gigabytes of memory?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
If you-
But wait,
if you-
Thomas, wait, Thomas.
That's a good question.
It depends on if he uses Chrome.
How many
Fair
tabs you got
point.
open for that? Yeah.
One.
Go ahead, Thomas. Go ahead.
For most of us, I feel like 32 gigabytes is a lot, even if we're running virtual machines and gaming a lot. For me, 16 gigabytes is more or less right at my sweet spot, but I still kind of want to go 32 just so that I can give a virtual machine 16 gigabytes of memory, because why not? If he's thinking he wants 64 gigabytes so he can give 32 gigabytes to a virtual machine, fine, whatever. Not going to complain about that. However, I will say, instead of having two 32 gig DIMMs, get 4 16 gigabyte DIMMs. That way, what you can do is you can actually get more memory bandwidth, because you'll be using all those not PCIe, all those RAM slots. And instead of potentially only doing single channel, you are at least doing dual channel. And you're doing dual channel at that point because you're using all of your RAM slots. And I actually checked on the board. He has 4 RAM slots. He can do that.
I got a question for you. When you go to 4 RAM slots and you go to fill them, see, like mine are staggered every other one, but I got the Vengeance RAM with the big heat sinks on them.
Yeah.
Is there actually enough room to put 4 of them in there?
Yes.
Typically, yes.
Yep. I think so.
It's a standard width, and I think they probably would try not to mess that up.
So when I built my Threadripper system a couple years ago, I initially went with this big Cooler Master air cooler, and I specifically went with the Corsair RAM that I went with because their heat spreaders didn't extend beyond the actual height of the RAM, because I needed to make sure I had the clearance.
So I'm going to ask you, one, does the company of the RAM matter nowadays? Because there's a lot of different companies out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of.
They do matter a lot, especially nowadays because of Ryzen. You have different latencies, and many companies will have differences in how good latency they have, and certain manufacturers are really not good for Ryzen because they have bad latencies, which is especially important on Ryzen with the Infinity Fabric, where latency can do a lot. Like besides speed, latency is really important.
I mean, yeah, it does matter, that latency, but it's not as bad as it was on Ryzen first gen, where if you didn't have a specific Samsung, what's the chip called? Like a specific, not die, like a specific Samsung RAM chip on your DIMMs, then you weren't getting the best performance. Nowadays, it's a little bit more open. It's not just that specific Samsung chip. But if you're not gaming, I don't think it's going to matter all that as much having that specific latency. I will say, though, if you're getting that faster memory, then when you go to boot up, make sure you enable your XMP profile, because if not, then it's going to boot up with that RAM running at 2133 or 2400 megahertz. So you need to enable that XMP profile so you're actually running at the advertised speed.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the memory?
I want to say you want to try and get at least CLI 16 or lower. I forgot what that means, but I talked to a lot of people when I was buying RAM back, and it has to do, I guess, with latency or something like that, and timing. Most RAM nowadays comes higher than, you know, the recommended slots do. I got 3200 megahertz RAM here. I'm sure nowadays they sell it up to 4000 or higher.
All right, so the storage that he's got, he's buying, or he has picked out an HP EX920 1 terabyte solid state NVMe drive. Now, I would probably, okay, so I don't know how good the HP drives are. I do know how good some of the other companies' NVMe drives, because of buying them and having them not work so well or fail. I had resigned myself to not buy anything other than a Samsung, whatever it might have been at the time, a 960, 970. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on it are as far as NVMe drives.
Well, Samsung or anything made by Micron, or the chips on it made by Micron.
I've had
Those
good
are
luck with,
somewhat good.
I've had good luck with Crucial as well.
I would
Crucial
say,
is Micron.
I would say the important thing right now is make sure you're getting a TLC SSD.
Yeah.
Don't get QLC.
Yeah,
Do not.
those
Oh,
are
yeah.
bad.
Those are slow. My NVMe drive is Intel, and I've had zero issues with it whatsoever. My SATA SSD is SanDisk, and I was going to suggest, maybe think about getting a secondary drive, and what you can do is put your home partition on that, and that way what you could do is maybe go for like a cheaper, like 256 or 500 gig NVMe SSD. You still get the fast boot times, and most of your applications still load quickly. And when your home partition is on SATA SSD, you can go for like a 2 terabyte one for less than you would for a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. And because you don't have an OS running off of it, it's going to be much faster than it normally would. And doing that is going to be perfectly fine. And because that's your home partition, if you need to reinstall your OS, your data tends to carry over most of the time, provided that whenever you reinstall the OS, a bug doesn't happen and it wipes that home partition, which doesn't happen usually.
Well, that kind of depends. Is he more concerned about improving his boot time, or in which case that makes sense? Or is he one of those people that game load times really annoy them? Because if you're running on Linux, unless you do some, well, you can do some special magic to change this, but by default, all of your games are going to be in your home directory.
Right. Which what you could do, and I'm not suggesting doing this, but I'm saying it is hypothetically possible, is get like a 500 gig NVMe SSD and partition like a 128 gig partition at the beginning of it, and that be your root partition, and the rest of it, and a SATA SSD could be like a ZFS partition or a ButterFS partition or something like that, and you get way more capacity like that. The only issue then you're going to have is a small portion of it is going to be way, way faster than the rest of it.
Well, there's two things I could suggest there. One is that you do set up a secondary Steam library, and then you can sort of prioritize manually, like I want this game on the NVMe SSD, and this one I don't care, I can have it on the SATA SSD, which is still going to be plenty fast, to be clear. But then you could also do the whole Bcache thing, and actually that sounds like...
But do you want to cache an SSD on another SSD?
Yeah, that's no.
I mean, and this is entirely hypothetical too. I don't think...
Okay, so hold on. We got to stop with the hypotheticals. We're here.
Yeah.
We're concerned about giving him suggestions for his specific
real ones.
Yeah, real ones. Not
Yeah.
Mel, maybe we
Okay,
could
yeah,
do
sorry.
this. So let's stay on track here.
Yeah, Rocco.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got I've got a 960 Evo Samsung 250 gig NVMe on my NUC and a crucial 1 terabyte for data. So far, that seems to be working all right. And all I did was put them in and use them.
Right.
There you go.
That's all I did. Right.
Yep.
So that seems to be working fine for me at the moment. So I've got no complaints so far. So just food for thought.
Very nice.
I've got a 970 Samsung, and that's pretty fast.
Yeah, I got a 970 as well.
Yeah, ADATA SU800, I think. I have a couple of those sitting around, and an SU750, which is not quite as fast. But those have been, ADATA have been really good for me.
Good.
Leo Chavez, everybody. Leo Chavez.
Hey!
All right. Video card wise, this is to me really, I mean, I love this choice. XFX Radeon RX 5700 XT thick 3 Ultra.
This
awesome
depends
video
on
card.
how big of a loan you want to take out.
Sounds thick.
Adam, tell me about this card, dude.
They're good cards.
Yeah, that's all you got. Come on, boy.
I mean, I got a 5700 XT, but it's not the thick one. But
you were comparing it
pretty
the
good,
other.
yeah.
You were comparing it the other week about your.
So I actually get a close to, in some games better, in some games worse than my 1080 Ti with this card. In Linux, it's amazing. Like, it works really well. The drivers and stuff. If you're running you can run a more recent kernel, but you can even get away with like the kernel on 2004 and stuff. Those run perfectly fine. And any recent version of Mesa, like 20.0 whatever and newer, is going to be great. You get nice support for things like ACO shader compiles, which really helps out in like DXVK and stuff like that. With that 3950X, he's not going to really have too much problem compiling the shaders, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be had in the open source world, and there's also kind of a nice idea that if I get a kernel update, I don't have to worry about my NVIDIA driver not being compatible.
Now, let me
There's
ask
a
you:
certain amount of that.
Is he going to have any trouble with Linux as far as getting the maximum performance out of this card? Is there going to be any extra setup needed to get the maximum performance?
Not in gaming, no.
I will ask, could you reiterate what exactly like his primary use was again? Just
He didn't mention it, Schickle, and
Yeah,
it would have been nice if we would have had some more information, but I'm sure he didn't think of it. You know what I mean?
I gotta back at him up on this, man. For the past 5 months, I've been on an RX, the 5700 XT, and it's been fantastic. I mean, again, with the kernel thing, right? Like, I can just hop on the newest kernel as soon as it drops, and I don't have to worry about my machine actually rebooting, whether or not it's going to actually boot up, or I might have to do like no mod set or something weird like that.
Yeah.
On which
It just
distribution
works.
is this?
Well, it's something more like rolling or more
But
recent.
you are
right?
manually adjusting your kernel, right?
Yeah, I used in Ubuntu-based distros, I'm using Uku, and I'm just like, hey, cool, the newest one, go, and it works.
So kind of the issue with that is that, one, that's generally not recommended, and two, that is additional maintenance on top of it. I wouldn't necessarily say that
but
makes it.
I guess what I'm saying is that I haven't had any performance issues whatsoever without I haven't had to run a custom kernel. I haven't had to. You don't even have to run like the latest Mesa and a PPA or anything. I get spectacular performance on just Ubuntu 2004 and the Mesa it comes with and all that.
100%.
That will provide perfect results.
Flip on ACO and Lutris. Oh my god! And it's just,
that's
just
why
even better.
That's why I asked, because like there was a time where the newer AMD, whatever it would be, processors or video cards came out that you would have to do extra things like download the new Mesa.
When they first come out, you do.
We are just like,
but that card is like a year old now.
Well, since 5.4. That's when the 5700 XT really started to sing, and then with 2004 dropping, it's just good. It's perfect.
Yeah, I've got one back in late March, early April, and I've not had any issues with it. It's been a fantastic card.
This does assume that
Leo,
you are on 2004 or later. So if you're using a distribution that hasn't updated to 2004 yet, such as Elementary OS, or if you're on, let's say, Debian and it's using an older kernel, you are going to have these issues.
Well, the 5700 XT on Linux Mint 19, that was when I got it. I was on 19.2 and then upgraded to 19.3. The fact that I was able to in Linux Mint just not even Uku, just click on the newest kernel, that immediately there was like mouse stutter and some weird stuff going on, but as soon as I clicked that, boom, the card was just fantastic.
So there is the fact that like older Ubuntu releases do get hardware, well at least the LTS does get hardware enablement, which can offer, which does offer support, because I did test Elementary and there were some issues like in terms of performance, but it did work. I didn't have a black screen or anything. It did load up, and that's because the latest LTS release that it's under has a newer kernel, right?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of backport solution for Debian or Elementary OS?
Nothing reliable.
Oh, oh wow. Oh yeah, there isn't one for Debian. I was trying to get WireGuard on Debian.
Is that so a lot of the things that are taunted or touted as a benefit is that it's in the kernel and you don't have to worry about a separate driver. The problem that this creates is you are locked to the kernel version, which means that the solution for problems is, like, if you have issues with the driver or your kernel's too old, you have to upgrade that entire piece. It's not like with NVIDIA where the proprietary drivers just lock onto any kernel version.
Well,
correct. Well,
that's not true. That's not true.
Well,
that's
on
only
top of
an
that-
issue. That's only an issue if, like, so if you try to go before the card was viable, right?
Exactly.
If you go like if he buys a 5700 XT now and runs anything based on 2004 or a recent Fedora or OpenSUSE Tumbleweed or almost everything out there, it's going to run perfectly fine from now until forever.
If you're dropping $400 on a card and you refuse to go to at least Ubuntu 2004, man, I don't know what to tell you.
That is a strange choice, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's Ven Stone, like runs a gaming channel on Debian stable, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, then he compiles a whole bunch of stuff on his own anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I can tell you, if you're going to use Debian, it's probably better to use NVIDIA and use the driver pack that's proprietary from them.
Well, I'm going to combine the last two. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Well, I was just one more comment about the video card. It's a XFX. What do we all think of that?
Yeah, this is true.
That's what mine is. Works fine.
I've had good results.
I've got one. Well, it's not mine. I gave it to my brother, but it doesn't.
I spent the extra few bucks on Sapphire because I love Sapphire, man. They've always been great to
I went the Sapphire route this time around and absolutely love it. My last experience with XFX was actually years ago. I had an 8800 GT that died on me, and that was right when they transitioned to ATI/AMD, and they sent me a 5750 instead. So I went from NVIDIA to ATI, not by my own choice.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to combine the last two, which is the case and the power supply, because this is really a lot of subjective. Because cases there's multiple different things you can get with cases, whether you want it to look nice, whether you got open sides, so we'll just give our opinions on it. But the Cooler Master Box MB511 RGB ATX mid tower case and the Corsair 850 watt platinum certified ATX power supply.
Oh, keep in mind right now there's a power supply shortage. So whatever he can get for a power supply at a good price and the power range he wants is what he needs to find.
What I will say about the power supply, go gold. Let me tell you why. If you go to RAMD or a lot of, just any forum that deals a lot with this 5700 XT, you're going to see a huge plethora of people complaining about how horrible the 5700 XT is, how bad it is, how much it crashes, how much black screen they get, how many lines across the screen they get, all kinds of crazy stuff. And a lot of times it boils down to they have like an 80 plus nothing power supply, and they can't guarantee that they're actually getting the whatever voltage they need out of the 12 volt going to the video card. So when it boils down to that, they buy a decent power supply, those issues just go away. buy a good power supply. Don't skimp there.
So your suggestion, do you have a specific suggestion, Leo, or is it just, anything that's gold certified?
Gold certified is good. I'm partial to Thermaltake. I don't know how well that goes off right here, but the Thermaltake RGBs are actually really, really good. And Seasonic are always, well, I don't know. I've heard Seasonic
I hear
has
lots
gone
of
downhill.
recommendations for Seasonic.
I've been a Seasonic guy for years. When I did my build 2 years ago, I ended up going EVGA because they had this deal going on right around then where I ended up with like a 12-year warranty on my power supply.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he's actually got a platinum.
Yeah.
He's got a Corsair
So-
850 that's a platinum, and
I've had good experience with Corsair.
I've got a Corsair in mine. It's an 850, and I gotta say it's really awesome. It is super quiet because like the fan rarely spins up unless you put it under a serious load.
That's how
And-
my the Thermaltake. Oh, so recommendation wise, Thermaltake Tough Power Grand RGB 80+ gold, and then whatever the wattage you need, 650 at least for a 5700 XT. And yeah, those fans they don't even move until you really start getting on it, and then it'll spin up a little bit.
But spins up on boot, and that's the last time I usually see it.
So for the cheap seats, or specifically the guy that's real cheap in the room, like the one that likes to scrape together his hardware and see what he can make work. What is it when he's talking about like the 80+ bronze or 80+ whatever? What does that mean?
That's our efficiency rating. The best one is 80+ platinum, so that power supply should be the best in efficiency rating at the optimal amount of load. So for 850, that will be something around 700, 650 to 700 watts, and that should, when you have that, you should have the most efficient use of the power supply.
So when
really
you say
efficient,
because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different
Well,
people.
it means you get more
form of
electrical
efficiency.
power out of it than heat.
So so what you can see what you can see is that like if your 12-volt rail to your video card is on the box says 200 watts, that 80+ gold is saying 90% of that. It's 90% efficient. So the thing that you can do is just whatever 90% of 200 watts is, that's what you're guaranteed to get.
I see. So they're probably when they test the parts after manufacturing, if it's a little bit out of spec, that basically goes to a different line.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Okay. All right.
You're
That's
getting
cool. Yeah. So
you're getting 180 watts.
I'm the bronze
man.
guy because I got it for $60 and it's a 1,000-watt power supply, and hey, it's holding up. I mean,
a bronze power supply should work just fine in most cases.
Yeah,
I've never actually bought a power supply in my life. I just use whatever's I have around the house.
Oh, that hurts.
Oh,
that's the best
just
way.
don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Power supply is one of the most important pieces in your computer.
I know,
it
but I didn't
basically
learn
can
that
destroy
until-
everything.
I
It
bought
can
a
destroy
power supply
everything.
once.
Buy
I think I
a
need
good power
oscilloscope.
supply.
I didn't
Every
hear that
mad scientist
advice
needs an
until
oscilloscope.
after the last time I built a PC.
You
So-
get a switching transformer or transistor in that thing that blows up, you can send 120 volts or 220, whatever your wall current is, right to all your parts.
Well,
Everything can be got.
That'd be fun.
But you guys don't use a hand crank?
Jinda, you had something?
Bicycle pedals.
The only thing I would point out is a lot of the cases aren't coming with USB-C ports in the front. They come with USB 3, but they don't come with USB-C. And that might be something that I've seen people overlook. I didn't care that it was going to be in the front or the rear because I just have an SSD card stuck in it and dangling in it all the time. So I didn't care that it wasn't there. But I think that's something that some people might really care about because I had a particular friend that was like, it had to have that.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
it
it
looks
looks like this-
mine doesn't actually have any ports on the front. It's totally blank on the front.
Yeah.
But it's got 2 on the top, and that's where it's more convenient because you're never going to block the top.
Right. But yeah, that's one of the things I always look at. If it has the USB-C ports and it has it in a convenient spot that you can get to.
Yep,
I don't know
makes
if that's I don't know if that he wants USB-C in the front, but I've seen people overlook it.
I'll block
If you
the
have the
top.
socket on your motherboard for it, they do make a cable and a little attachment kit, so you can drill a little hole in the front of your case or anywhere you want and put one in yourself.
All right, so looking over this list, I don't know. I think he did a really good job of picking out parts. Some of
did.
these parts are
Yeah.
primo. The total cost of this is $2,137.92.
Ooh.
So I guess what I'm saying is
It's a primo.
It's a primo kit, and he knows that
Yeah.
it's going to cost that much. I think the only thing, like if I was going to build this, I think the only thing I probably would switch would be the NVMe drive. Just
So-
because.
And I'm totally just asking a favor. What was the CPU on this? I missed that.
That was a Ryzen 9 3950X.
Good Lord, you need that kind of horsepower? That's
Yeah,
fine.
you do. Yeah,
That's
you do.
fine.
Yeah.
Well, but
I
see, it's
mean,
not do you need it, it's
with it?
can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's-
I mean,
it's
hey,
nice.
if you're just trying to crank it up just to crank it up, then yeah, that's the
and
right
watch
tip.
your electric meter going. Bzzz, bzzz,
Well, Barb, we
Actually,
didn't.
no. It's probably not that bad.
Okay, but what's he really going to be using it for? I guess is my question.
Barb, we
Well,
didn't
don't know.
hear what he was going to be using it for. He doesn't say that, so he just said that he's looking for these. He's looking at these parts. This is what I'm looking at. What do you guys think? Is there any suggestions? So,
This is
Okay.
pure speculation, but I do know people that buy machines and spec them like this, so they can game and they can run Linux. But if there's a game that doesn't run on Linux, instead of having to dual boot, their machine is so powerful they could just fire up a Windows VM and it plays fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know, a lot of people build machines like this because they will game for like 5 or 7 years. And like if at the worst thing they have to change is their video card due to some kind of new funky ray tracing for some particular games or something like that, that becomes
Mick.
popular.
So
That's the only reason the machine would become obsolete.
So I recently, upgraded my box with the AMD stuff and all that, 3900X, all this good stuff, right?
Good man.
95% of what I've done since I've updated it, browse the web, watch Twitch, watch YouTube. I'll be honest, like I got
1,000
ridiculous
FPS in
box over
Minecraft.
there, and like the vast majority of it. I play World of Warcraft, like okay, that takes a lot, right? Like no, it's
But I will say the
overkill for most of what I
ACO,
do. But
the ACO on World of Warcraft has really made a big
oh yeah,
difference.
it does make a difference. But here's the key. Here's the key. If I want to do it, I can do it.
right.
I may not do it, but I can.
I'm kind of the same situation. And, I don't even run Ubuntu. I run LMDE Mint, the Debian stuff. And that's all I really need to do is with all the things you mentioned that is in the realm of Debian. And Steam runs great on Debian.
Yep.
Well, I will say I use mine. I spin up 3, 4, 5, whatever VMs all at the same time. Start compiling some stuff. Yeah, you really notice it in a hurry. So that looks like a nice machine to me.
Looks like a real nice machine. And Donald McManus from chat says, you guys do this for the same reason that guys build cars with outrageous horsepower.
Yeah.
Yep, just because they
absolutely.
can.
Yeah. But
So you can get to 25 miles an hour in the city like that.
Yep, exactly.
Price-wise, it isn't that much of a problem because it's a tool that many use for years and years and years. So paying top dollar to get a machine that you will use for 5, 6, 7 years, it's not that problematic when you get that money back maybe 2, 3 times with it. And it's like paying 30, 40,000 for a car. Why are you paying that? Is my question.
Because they can, Big Pot. Because they can.
They can because they want something out of it. Whether it is the coolness factor, whether it is they trust the brand they choose, or anything like that.
Maybe if you have a 90-minute commute, you want a nice car or something.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
And,
any other comments on the PC build? Chickle.
Just a little bit in terms of like the power as well. I initially built my PC with the 6-core Ryzen 5 1600X, I think it was. And then I upgraded that to the 2700, which gave me 2 extra cores, 4 extra threads. And the reason I had done that is because at the time I had started doing YouTube stuff and I bumped it up, and the thing is when you are doing a task, sometimes you want to also be able to do other things. And if that task is like, let's say 3D modeling, or if that task is video rendering or audio editing, those things get pretty heavy. VMs get heavy. You know, you definitely need to be able to allocate a lot of resources. But the fact that I jumped up in like a year based on my usage means that, I mean, having, what is it, 16 cores and 32 threads? Like, that's a pretty decent amount of headroom. And that basically means that they won't have to be spending that extra money at the next year or the year after that, because they'll be able to have that headroom. So, I mean, it really is, it sounds expensive, but it's honestly a cost-saving feature in the long run.
Yep.
I have one thing. I expect to see benchmarks. I want to see all the benchmarks.
Well, Lee in chat said that he wants to see photos of the build then. I agree.
Yeah, that too.
That too. Yes. I want to weep as I see the patheticness of my own system be trumped by this massive monster of a machine.
Yep.
It's making me want to upgrade, and I only did that a year and a half ago.
It's making Nate want to upgrade. I know that.
So I've
Actually,
actually been
I blame all of
wanting.
you.
So I've actually been wanting to jump to one of the newer just consumer Ryzen chips for the increased single core performance, and then kind of repurpose my Threadripper into like a VM host and just stuff a bunch of drives in it. But with prices the way they are right now, I'm kind of holding off on that.
Yep. All right. I'm going to put in a link in the chat for our next topic, which is our continuation of the 21 must-have apps for Ubuntu 2020 edition. And we have gone through a lot of these, and I'm trying to find my place of where we left off. I think.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Yep.
E-readers and caffeine is what we did last time, I believe. Dan?
Yep.
That sounds right. Yes.
Okay. So we are up to, I'm trying to scroll down the list here to see if there's only one selection for each specific area, because the next one is Tilex Terminal Emulator. So I guess this is the only terminal application in the list. And this is going to be a very subjective topic because everybody's going to have their favorite terminal.
This is actually, Tilex is my terminal of choice when I am inside of a GNOME or GNOME-based desktop. I've really enjoyed that it does have the GUI-based tiling inside of it. That is really handy.
If you want tiling of terminal, get yourself a tiling window manager.
I can tile the terminals,
Tmax.
Tyler, with POP, with the tiling button.
You can also use something
Tile
like
Plasma.
Tmux if you want.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, Tmux is really nice, especially for things I'm remoted into. But on my local machine, it is nice to have something like Tilex and not having to open multiple terminal windows to have the windows tiled, because then I'm wasting all that vertical screen real estate on the header bars.
Is anyone here a Kitty user besides me?
Kitty?
On Windows,
I've used Kitty before, but
Yeah, I've
it's
tried
not
it.
my go-to.
It's like,
Barbara has many kitties.
well, that yes, but it has the sort of built-in tiling thing, and it has different layout. It's kind of crazy, and it's so it has the tiling thing, which you can manipulate. I via the mouse somehow, and I know there are keyboard shortcuts. And then it also is the best at rendering different fonts, like Powerline fonts. Like if you have the really fancy terminal prompt where it's like a solid color arrow. I don't know if any of you guys do that. Okay,
I do that.
but
I'm guilty.
it's the only terminal emulator I've ever come across that renders those perfectly. And you can have like you can have like different windows that all like connect to a session almost as if it was Tmux. It's nuts. You should look it up.
Dan, do you know what my favorite terminal is?
Probably console.
He's gonna
or
say
the
GNOME
one that
terminal.
comes with your distro. I'm
The
not
one
sure
that
yet.
comes with your distro, Dan. That's my favorite terminal.
I was wondering which way you were
That
going
was
to go,
coming.
but you know.
So can I give a shout out to how console how awesome console is. They
Console's
keep
pretty-
adding things to it. Like I think you can now hover over an image and click on it. It'll open up in the image viewer and things like that.
Yeah, console's pretty awesome, but yeah, I mean, the one that comes with it usually is pretty good. I don't know. I use Q Terminal because
I got to back up Rocco on that. I mean, GNOME Terminal's pretty good.
It's pretty. I mean, it does everything I need, Leo.
Well, I mean, all I'm trying to do is type in some commands, and
Right.
it does that. So I'm very happy with that. And if I need to, I'll push it off to a workspace and come back to it when I need it. But I mean, I guess I'm just not a guy that needs 8 terminals at a time.
Now, I will say that I do sometimes, and depending on the mood that I'm in, I do enjoy using a drop-down terminal every now and then. That's a plus. But other than that, like, I don't need anything spectacular in the terminal. I'm just typing in a few commands and getting out of it, you know? Now, that's different, I guess, if you're working in it all day, or if you're, you need specific functions that this terminal emulator gives you, or whatever. So, Colin, what do you think?
Well, I was watching Keep It Techie this morning. He was doing a video on Terminator, which looked like it had very similar functionality to Tilix. So that looked pretty cool, I must say.
I've used Terminator. That is pretty good. I don't know. Like I said, I use Q Terminal because it comes with Ubuntu and it does all those things too. I'm just saying it does the splits. It does the vertical, horizontal. I can do the tiling. It's got tabs. It's got all the stuff. I don't know. Pretty great.
All right. Dan Kelly, go ahead.
Muted.
You're muted, Dan.
I don't really have a favorite terminal. I usually just use what comes with the distro. One terminal that I really don't like is Xterm, and I'll tell you why. The text in Xterm is so small. To actually do anything to the terminal, I got to put this on, make sure my bifocals are stuffed right up against the screen, and then I can see the text in the Xterm.
Xterm is unconfigured by default. You need to configure it to set the font and size of the font. So by default, it comes with a really small font.
But most of the default terminals that come with the distros, I can usually figure them out. I'm not in the terminal all that much. I rarely use it anymore. Matter of fact, I'm not a terminal guy. I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead because I'm done.
Okay, because I was about to say I've had some experiences with Xterm, also with URXVT, which I think was it seems like the first attempt to make something that was better than Xterm. I don't actually know the history. But one, I think that Xterm, the font is so small by default because it was made when we had these really low-res screens, and so that was actually the right size, but it isn't anymore.
Yes.
I also have configured it and gotten it to a place where it looks okay. When I've been on distros and operating systems that didn't have a better one, basically. Because if recently, because I was too lazy because there was no USB boot and I was too lazy to burn a Debian CD, I put OpenBSD on an ancient laptop, and that you cannot get like Kitty or my second favorite, Alacrity. And if you do something like GNOME Terminal, then you have to pull in the entire desktop environment, which I didn't want to do because it would kill this laptop. So I thought, let's just configure Xterm, and it takes you an hour or two, but you can get to a place where it looks, it looks about as good as GNOME Terminal, maybe.
Boy, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not really worth it.
All right, Tyler, go right ahead.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to another feature of Tilix that I took advantage of a couple times recently, and that is the ability to synchronize the input between all the different tiled terminals that you have open within Tilix. Recently, I had to SSH into a bunch of different machines and run the same set of tasks on them. So to be able to synchronize the inputs that way saved me a ton of time.
That is kind of nice. Yeah. And so Yeah, I've used that stuff before too. Daniel, we haven't heard from you tonight. Go right ahead.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Daniel already mentioned it, but I've been using Alacrity or Alacrity, however you want to pronounce it. And I actually like that one a lot. The GPU rendering that it does, it's really fast, like really fast. I haven't gotten into a lot of the nuances of it yet. I'm just starting to, but yeah, that's the one I've been using. I really like that one a lot.
That's something one quick interjection. That's one other thing I forgot to mention about Kitty is that it is also GPU accelerated. So,
Oh, is it?
Yes. So you get the same fast output that you would with Alacrity, plus all like the whiz bang features it has.
That's cool that you mentioned that because I use a lot of those power line prettiness for Vim and my other stuff. So I might have to. What's it called again? Kitty?
Yes, Kitty. Kitty, like
all right.
Cat.
I'm gonna have to download and install that one now too.
What? Big Pod. What do you got, man?
I either use a GNOME terminal, Mata terminal, or if I wanna go fancy, I'm gonna compile myself Alacrity, since on Ubuntu there isn't one in the repository, so I have to do it myself, and it takes a long time. It is Rust. That is quite a long compile.
So why do you choose those? Like what's the reason? Like what is the unique competitive advantage of that terminal? The one you like
Well,
the most?
GNOME terminal is installed on many distributions because I mainly target GNOME. So if I gonna go install, I either go GNOME or Mata, and then the terminal is already there. For Alacrity, the GPU acceleration is great, and it has a nice config file with YAML style config, so it's quite easy to write.
What you do, like what the GPU acceleration gives you is like if you have a long output command, like if for some for some weird reason you're doing ls of all of USR, then it just outputs things faster because it's a terminal emulator. It's like pretending that it's an actual screen in it that only has a certain refresh rate, and by being GPU accelerated, that can be a lot faster.
Yeah, and actually, if you do something like, let's say, building, and you don't actually have a GPU accelerated terminal, it could actually slow the compile down.
Because it has to tell you, like when it prints like a message, if that takes longer, then it's going to take longer to get to the next step in the build.
Most funny thing was on Windows, the CMD, that actually became faster when you made it smaller. So that is one of the reasons I tend to go for the GPU acceleration, because I learned over there how non GPU accelerated can get bad.
For convenience and awesomeness purposes as well, Alacrity is available as a snap, so you don't have to add a PPA or build it if you don't want to as well.
So I want to ask Big Pot something. I know you like to follow some of the Microsoft stuff. Have you played with the Windows terminal?
Yes, I have, and I'm kind of miffed that it isn't available on Linux. But it's great. It is great.
All right. Anybody else?
I guess that.
Go ahead, Nate.
If I may interject, so console is on Plasma. That's my jam. I like it, especially for W3M web browsing. It actually shows pictures and everything, so I can browse the web in the terminal, showing pictures.
Wait, this is news to me. I haven't gotten that to work in anything but Xterm.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it works great.
Okay.
But the but I think you guys I learned something here. So I'm thinking console is probably GPU accelerated or has some sort of a graphical acceleration into it too, because I do notice that the text display is a lot quicker in console than it is on an actual a TTY if I log in that if I'm in that on that side of things. So that's interesting. I didn't know the terminal emulators are actually faster than terminals. Who would have thought, huh?
Hey, Dan, you decided to leave us and switch places, or what?
I have no idea what happened there. All of a sudden, it was just gone. Only Zoom though, so that's good.
Okay. Anybody else on the whole terminal thing? All right, we are going to move on to the next app down the list. Scrolling down. Oh boy. Only Office is listed as one of the 21 must-have apps. Now, I would assume, like I said, that they don't have any other Office on here if they're suggesting only Office. Is that a popular choice?
Never used it.
I would
To
have.
be honest.
I could have picked two other ones before that, probably, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think I've ever heard of Only Office.
Well, I guess apparently it's only Office.
I think
So it does.
I heard of it, but I believe I heard of it only in the context of Nextcloud's web interface for it, and that was about it.
I think Rob's done some videos on Only Office. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure he's done. I've seen some videos of Rob do some Only Office stuff. I think it was that one. I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Well,
and it says here. Actually says here that it has its own. The downside is the app uses its own toolkit, so it will look different to all your other apps because of that.
But is
But
that
they
something that
reckon-
should be on the list then? If we're talking, you're going to hand this list to somebody that's like maybe, I don't know, new to Linux or something like that, and this is the 21 must-have apps. Would we pick only Office? Really?
No.
You're not going to have the same
Browsers.
support, so that could be a problem.
What would be the what would be the reason for only Office over others? Like free Office, I can see that one because it looks like Microsoft Office. It's really pretty close. I'm surprised they get away with it. So I can see why someone would use that. I don't particularly like free Office as much as I like LibreOffice.
I'm thinking that the compatibility with Microsoft Office would have to be one of the biggest things here. Maybe it has a better compatibility than LibreOffice. That could be one
What
of the
about like
reasons.
WPS Office? I mean, I hear
Yeah.
that's pretty great for compatibility.
That's not open source, though, is it? That's not free open
Well, neither
source.
is
it?
free Office.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And
No,
I don't know about Only Office.
I don't know about only Office.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know
maybe
what the
I'm
license
taking-
is on it. Let me look.
Maybe I'm taking the list wrong. Maybe I'm looking at it like it's as the best, and maybe this list is formulated with other things in mind. I'm not sure, but it's definitely would not be only Office would not be the choice I give to somebody to say, hey, what's the best Linux Office app? That only Office would not be the choice for me.
Yeah, that would be my. I've never even used it, and I don't. Like, what was wrong? What would really be wrong with LibreOffice?
Well, there are times, and I have to say it's getting less and less, but there are times where LibreOffice just doesn't cut it when you're switching back between Microsoft Office documents, especially in Calc, compared to
that's true.
LibreOffice. But I don't know. I don't know.
I
how
might
well.
have found a reason why they recommend only Office. It looks quite similar to Microsoft Office. Just look at screenshot, and it is really, really, really copying the Office. So
The theme is only
that
going to
could
take
be
you so
reason.
far. How does it actually work with DocX, XLSX,
Right.
PPTX? Like if it works well with that, then this is why it's on the list and not LibreOffice.
It could just be the author's favorite. Like I know, I hear plugs on Mintcast for SoftMaker
What?
Office a lot, and
Oh,
I never
man.
hear that anywhere else. That doesn't
You
mean it's
listen. You
bad.
listen to Moss, man.
Yeah.
He'll get you some SoftMaker. But I mean, I don't know. At least from what he says, it's got really good compatibility with those types of documents. But I mean, I don't know. Like I've dropped a lot of that, and at least for work, we use Google Docs. So Microsoft doesn't really matter to us too terribly much, and LibreOffice is pretty much one-to-one with Google Docs. So for work, it's great for me.
So as
But
far
yeah.
as it's not just a matter of compatibility as well, it's a matter of performance. Like if you're comparing it to Microsoft Office, for example, I mean, I've used LibreOffice and Google Docs and such, and tried to open some pretty substantial spreadsheets and been met with frustration. That it has to be said that Excel handles large data sets really well, and that's kind of something that you may or may not experience with an open source
Something that
implementation.
I think it was Noah brought up on his show is that LibreOffice, I mean, it's possible that it's less powerful, but that's not necessarily the case, but it does handle things. Some of the equations have to be tweaked and everything. It doesn't handle things exactly the same way as Excel does.
This is true.
All right.
And I know, yeah, because sorry.
That's right. Let's get a list of what you guys use. What Nate, what do you use for an Office app?
Primarily, I use LibreOffice. I do have FreeOffice installed, and every once in a while I'll go into that. But if I'm not using LibreOffice, I use Microsoft Office.
That's great.
Okay, Barbara.
All on Linux.
Okay, I normally use LibreOffice on both my Mac and in Linux, but once in a while when something special like with a spreadsheet, if I have problems, I use my Mac and I use Microsoft Office. And that's those times when nothing else works. And the advantage is that I have a free copy because of being a teacher.
Thomas?
Fan of the WordPerfect.
WordPerfect, nice.
Yeah.
So
Lotus 1, 2, 3.
If I'm using an Office, then most of the time these days I'm using LibreOffice, but I've used Google Docs way more than LibreOffice because of school. With Chromebooks, that's basically what you have to use. So I've used that far more than anything else at this point.
Dan, Kelly.
I'm about as far away from an office as you can get. I'm a retired mechanic. We don't use computer office suites, but I usually accept the LibreOffice that comes with the distributions, just so I can open up a letter or something like that if it's sent to me.
Right.
But as far as creating anything from an office, it's not me.
Well, I don't use anything usually to create Office documents either, Dan. So it's not like that's a big deal. Eris, do you use which Office app do you use?
I try to use text as much as possible, just a text file. And if not that, LibreOffice. And if not that, I'll go with online Office, like Word or Excel. If I need something really compatible, then we'll try that. But that's like a last resort thing.
Tony?
I use LibreOffice mainly. I've been using it ever since I've been on Linux. I was using it before with Windows 10.
And it works for what you need it for?
Yeah, for what I need it for, it works fine.
Yep. Shickle.
I have the LibreOffice app installed pretty much every time, so I do that when I need it. But I mean, the last time I opened up a document to edit it, I think I was in like the second year of high school, so it's been a little while. It's kind of just there for novelty.
Right. To be honest with you, I don't use it hardly at all. Like, I don't use it hardly at all. But when there's a document that maybe I have sitting on my computer that I need to open or something, it'll end up being LibreOffice usually for me. Jinda, go ahead.
LibreOffice. And I use it, once a month?
Yep. Colin?
Yeah, I don't do many Office documents these days myself, but normally if I do, it's LibreOffice because it'll be simple. So LibreOffice always for me.
Tyler?
If I do find myself needing to touch an Office document, usually it's going to be LibreOffice.
Bill? Bill, are you there?
He uses he uses Lotus 123.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't actually gone beyond that. It's
Can you actually hear me?
I can hear you now.
We can now, yeah.
I love Zoom.
Yes, me too.
So much like Nate, I use Microsoft Office. I use Crossover. I pay Crossover for the awesome stuff they do, or I just use it in a VM.
Same.
And
Like brothers.
if I'm not using that, I'll use SoftMaker. The first thing I remove from any Linux distribution is LibreOffice.
Well, there are see when I have to install an Office program, I don't normally just go to the software center and install LibreOffice because you get all kinds of other stuff that you never use anyway. So I end up just putting in the terminal command to install Writer and Calc and just those programs. So you don't get the whole suite with it.
One of the cool things you can do if you really want to be retro is just throw Abbey Word on there.
Abbey Word. Oh my gosh. Now we're going back, dude.
That is actually still a good application.
No,
it really is.
No, it's not.
I have it. I'll
It is
talk
so
about that
light.
later.
It's like the lightest word processor that's not just text.
No, it's fine. It's a good app. It's just, no. No. Daniel.
Which one?
Daniel Born. I'm sorry, Daniel. Sorry. Daniels. Daniel
Well,
Born.
That's all right. Yeah, so at work we use Office, so I just kind of stick with that because it's on the work machine. And I work primarily with spreadsheets, usually with very sophisticated calculations built into them, so I don't really like to muck around with them. If it's personal stuff, which I don't, I'm like everybody else, man. I don't really do much personally with documents, but it's usually LibreOffice. Although I do take most of my notes in VimWiki, so it's all text-based.
Wow. Big Pod.
I like that.
Well, I am a bit funny. I use either LibreOffice or the Office Online from Microsoft. But I will sometimes, especially when will go through Microsoft Office installed on Windows. That's for sure because I have so many troubles with LibreOffice and I like to triple check things. But if it's a spreadsheet, then I don't touch the LibreOffice, what is called Calc, in any way. I would rather use that crappy version online from Microsoft. That version works better than the one by LibreOffice, even though if I need to use spreadsheets, I will boot into Windows and use Excel directly installed.
Daniel, too?
So I don't really use an Office suite all that much. I prefer writing everything in like Markdown and then using a program called Pandoc to turn that into a PDF. And if somebody sends me an Office document, then I will usually try to convert that into a PDF. I believe I have Writer or AbbeyWord installed, but only because I can from the command line convert that into a PDF. I really don't like word processors. But then sometimes, like if I'm at school, all the school computers have Microsoft Office. So sometimes it's easier just to open them up on there because there won't be any compatibility issues. Pretty much. So like if it's something I have to print out or whatever. And I don't deal with spreadsheets really at all. So, yeah.
Steve's very own. What do you use for an Office app, dude?
LibreOffice. I mean, I had been using, go back to the Windows days, OpenOffice for years. And then towards the end, Libra, and then LibreOffice pretty much for, all my big Linux days here, my 5 years or so. And it does, it covers the needs that I have. I, like everybody else, don't need a big office suite to get things done. In a quick document here. My wife, she uses it too. She just does her shopping lists and her book club list, and my son actually uses it for school. The teachers in that haven't been too particular about him using something other than a Microsoft. So that's what we use at home here.
All right, Adam Grubbs.
I use Google Docs. It's the Stadia of the office world. But yeah, it's I just use the Google Suite, the Google Docs sheet slides. It's so much easier for me. And we use it at work. If we ever have to do like office stuff among our team, we just use Google Office, the Google Drive stuff. Because education, they give you like free unlimited drive space. So we just use
Yeah, I've
it.
been using Google Docs a lot at work, come to think of it. So yeah, it's simplified. It makes it easy.
Leo.
I am exclusively Microsoft Word 98 or 97, so I can get access to that sweet Clippy. I see you're writing a letter. No,
best
really,
in word
like,
art.
yeah, I use Google Docs most of the time, mostly because everything that I do is collaborative. So I can mess with something, we can add notes, we can do all this, and I can see what's going on. It's pretty good as far as if I get wonky docx or whatever, it's Word Online. If I have to, if I can stay in Linux, I will do that. Otherwise, I have to use Microsoft Office, the new one, not the Clippy one.
Well, okay, so I went down the list for everybody, and the reason I did that was because I didn't think I heard one person recommend only Office. Not one person. So not sure why this is on this list, but like I said, maybe I'm looking at the list in a different light than what it was meant to be. I'm just going by the title.
So the only context that I've used OnlyOffice in was when I decided to play with it in Nextcloud. And now Nextcloud's saying they're going back to using that Collabora interface as a front end for LibreOffice on Nextcloud. So I was like, okay, so I guess I'll go back to using that.
Well, Kevin in chat said that he uses OnlyOffice sometimes, and it works okay. Like I said, I just don't know why it's on the list. So there you go.
Somebody likes it.
We should write a letter.
We should write a letter to OMG.
In
and say,
OnlyOffice.
Why? No, we should write it in Abbey Word and say, hey. Actually, some of the guys had mentioned in chat about Markdown and using Markdown.
Yeah.
And
but Rocco, I'm still angry about your Abbey Word diss right there. It is actually, it is a good program. It really is a good program.
It is, Bill. It just looks like it's from 1990, dude. That's all.
You can just make it, or wait, does it really? On
yes.
My computer, it just matches the GTK3 theme. I don't know what's wrong with yours.
So I haven't installed it. I haven't installed it.
If he can break it,
so
Rocco
long.
does it. Install it. Play with it for a week. Use it for the next 2 weeks when you're breaking stuff on user space.
Why do you say I'm breaking stuff on user space, Bill? I mean, do you have some inside information, or okay?
I did come up with an Office suite that I use more than LibreOffice. Anybody recognize this?
That's your Notepad, Dan.
That's Microsoft Notepad.
Well, like I said,
Dan, when's the last time you updated your Notepad, Dan? Are you running an old version to be secure?
I didn't do anything to it this week. I had to do other things.
I don't know what you guys think of Markdown, but we've been using it for Linux user space.
Awesome.
I love it and I hate it, like all at the same time. Like it's awesome. You can format it the way you want to. You can do, and you get quicker as you learn it, so you don't have to actually hit the little button. You can type these things in, but the problem is, like there are times where, like I was telling Leo and telling the guys on Linux user space that like I would format this one section of mine. So like we have a document and I have a section of mine, and then below me is like Leo's section or somebody else's section. And I would go to format mine, say in bold, and it would do the whole document everything after my line, including Leo's, and it would mess the whole document up. It would do it in bold. So I'm thinking, well, I'm on the wrong tab, or I'm tabbed over too far. I'm trying to move it around. I finally gave up and decided not to make it bold. So, but there are
is It's Joe messing it up with that detail thing.
I'm telling you,
so you can have the little flipper.
He put in
closed
this
sections.
Yeah, Joe put in this nested arrows where
Nice
you can close and open these arrows in the view, and they were awesome because you don't have to look at this wall of text for somebody's part of the document, and that's great. But the problem with that is, it somehow the nesting messes with, some of the, I don't know. It somehow messes with the formatting of Markdown somehow. So
everything is like.
Are you using that CodeMD thing for the, like, if you're sharing the notes?
yes, well, we are using Kodi, and there are, so you can unlink it. So in the center of the two sides, you can unlink it, because what would happen is you would go to change something, and because of the nesting, it would flip the document all the way down to the bottom for whatever reason. It has issues with the nesting.
Probably because you can use asterisks for bolding or for bullets. Maybe that has something to do with it.
I don't know. It was driving me insane. But like I said, I love it. It's awesome. But there are times where I hate it too. So, yeah, what are you going to do? All right. I think we're going to cut it off there, and we will wait until next week to talk about Etcher, because that's the next thing on the list for USB writers, I guess. Yeah, we're out of time. So everybody gets a last word. Nate.
Hey, thanks for letting me be a part of this. It's always fun to be able to chat with my nerdy friends.
Hi.
And have them, enable my hardware addict addiction now that I have. So thank you all, and I will see you next week.
Well, just so you know, Ryan used to blame me constantly for his hardware addiction as well. So I'm okay if you blame me too.
Okay, I blame you.
Okay.
And Barbara.
Barbara, last word. You're unmuted, Barbara, but we're not hearing you.
You're not hearing me?
Okay,
I'm unmuted.
go ahead. Now we are. It's Zoom with its lag.
Yeah, okay. I actually, whatever. I'm glad I was back this week. I kind of missed it for 2 weeks, and I'm not as much of a hardware addict as some other people here, so I can't blame you, Rocco, for that. And basically, thank you for hosting this every week, and thanks, Dan. Dan at the bottom of the screen here, at least in my screen, for him helping you an awful lot.
Dan is the sidekick. He is my right-hand man. Thomas, last word.
Well, thank you for letting me back on again this week. Thanks for putting it on again this week. So I can't say too much, but we're working on something in Draugr OS that might be kind of revolutionary. I can't go into more detail other than that because I don't want to get everyone's hopes up and then it fall apart at the seams and nothing come of it.
Lower latency?
It's Clippy.
No. It's nothing software related. That's all I'm going to say. But if it works out, there's going to be some pretty cool stuff coming here in the next few months. So keep your eyes peeled.
Dan Kelly, last word.
Rocco, thank you for such a great show tonight. We had a lot of wonderful topics to talk about. Thanks all the people that make the show possible as well. And everybody have a really good week. Be safe. And Nate, enjoy all those good toys you're getting.
They're old toys, and thank you.
Well, they're new to you, probably.
Eris.
Okay.
Eris, last word.
Thank you for the stream, Rocco and Co. LBRY is a good program for what it is. Simple, light program.
Tony, last word.
Thanks, Rocco, for a great show. Enjoyed the conversation this week. Good to see everyone again, and everybody looks well. That's a good thing too. So stay safe till next week. Rocco, next
Yes.
week, Biddle Europe.
Biddle Europe next week. Thank you, Tony.
So a double whammy. I look forward to hopefully doing both sessions, and I'll see you all then.
Very nice. Shickle.
I look forward to getting my keyboard and mouse tomorrow, so I'll be ready to click and tap and annoy you guys on the next stream next week.
Get those blue switches out of here.
Yeah. I got it.
Jinda, last word.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to see everyone again this week, and I can't wait to do it again. Thanks, guys.
Colin.
Thanks, Rock and Co., especially Dan, the right-hand man. I'm enjoying the format that you've got going here. It's good conversations. The only thing I'm not used to tonight or this morning for me, is Nate's spontaneous attitude. I don't know. I'm just trying to get used to it.
It's definitely not like him, Colin.
Everyone have a safe week, and see you next week.
Tyler, last word.
Thank you for the show. Lots of fantastic topics tonight. And, if you ever have a chance to buy a laptop because the CPU's code name is the same as your first name, just do it.
Be Nike and just do it. Bill, last word.
Thank you, Rocco and Dan. Don't forget Rocco, Dan, Leo, and I'm sorry, and Joe.
That guy that doesn't show up
that
anymore.
That guy who's not here.
Yeah, he never shows up for Biddle anymore.
The one we blame.
Don't forget Nate on DLN Extend. And if you get a chance, Ubuntu 2004.1 has release candidate status. If you're interested in testing, please give it a test. It's going to be released on Thursday if everything goes right. So that's it.
Bill, is that the release where the upgrade switch gets ticked for people?
It will. If you're on 1804, that is the release that you will start getting notices that it's available for you.
Okay.
Here come the bug reports.
Yep. All right, Daniel Bourne.
Rocco, again, thanks for the stream as always. And Dan Simmons for helping out, and everybody else who helps out when they can. Really enjoying that new podcast that you guys got running. Even the guy who doesn't show up here anymore.
Yep. That guy.
What can you do about that guy? Next time I'm gonna have a new camera. I actually got the new camera in this weekend, so I'm gonna be playing with that this weekend or this week. So maybe I'll have that up and running for the next Biddle. But again, love the format, love the conversation, and can't wait to do it again next week. So everyone have a great week.
Big Pod.
Well, this week I had 3.5 second latency at the start of the show, so hopefully until next week I will get that UTP cable running in the attic, so I will have a normal internet with nice latency. It won't be 3.5 seconds.
Daniel 2, last word.
Thanks, Rocco and Dan, for everything you do. Thanks everyone else for making this such like a fun and inviting place to be. And hope to see you all next week.
Steve?
Hey, thank you, Rocco. And that Linux user group is pretty good. I like the dynamic. You guys are really well. It's I'm glad you didn't listen to Joe because your format is excellent. So thanks for that. So everybody take care, and maybe I'll see some of you in the morning.
Yes, by the way, coffee in the morning, right? What time, Steve?
8 Central, so 9 Eastern, and unfortunately 6 Pacific, and then
9 for the civilized world.
Yep. Adam Grubbs, last word.
Thanks for the show. It's a good time always, and everybody stay safe.
Leo.
Thank you for letting me crash the last half of these past few. But I will say, Shickle, we're gonna have to have like a whole Biddle on keyboards so that I can tell you why blues are not. I do reds and blacks, man. You got to be considerate.
I'm not using a blue though. I don't have any blues.
Okay, well, good, good. I think that's the right choice.
Dan Simmons.
All right, so I'm on my phone, so I'm sure the audio here is absolutely stellar. Just want to say thanks, Rocco, for putting up with me. And if you haven't checked it out, linuxuserspace.show/telegram. Feel free to join the conversation over there.
Yes, the connection is fantastic for you, Dan, because you just cut out. But he did.
All right, cool.
He did get out linuxuserspace.show/telegram. That is a Telegram group we made for the people who listen to the podcast. If you'd like to join that, feel free. Again, thank you, Dan, for being here and helping out. Nate, you as well. I appreciate it. As Tony said, there will be Biddle Europe next week, so it'll be a double header. Biddle Europe will be at 3 p.m. Regular Biddle at 8 p.m. I am interviewing somebody tomorrow, Sunday, for a Linux Spotlight, so that should be coming up soon as I can get that edited. Other than that, I think I put out everything I was supposed to. Dan, did I?
I think you did.
All right. So that is going to wrap it up for us. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you next week. But until then, long live Linux.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye. Hasta la vista.